Well, today's April 9th, 2025. This email here might not be the one I was specifically looking for, but it certainly has triggers. This one is from July 2nd, 2024. It was emailed to a few people. Kelly, Colin, and Kelly at the college. I think there's two Kellys. There are obviously communication inconsistencies among the college staff. My irritable bowel syndrome has been the worst that has ever been the last 48 to 72 hours. Hopefully, I did not get hepatitis A from all of the food safe violations which I have witnessed during the celebrations in Kitkatla. My cat jumped out of the motorhome after the additional trauma of another ferry ride and of another abandoned home territory lost late last week. I have not seen him since Saturday. When Deb, the elite of education at that community, walked with me to the ferry because she didn't decide to keep me for all the services that her community needs and that she knows I'm qualified for because she had asked for diplomas and references, for example, in counseling. And then there's two boats we found out. One was already pre-ordered for the school staff on their last day to leave, and nobody was there because they had all made other plans, or they may not have even been told about it. But she had also arranged for another boat to come specifically for me and her, so she told the other boat, who said they weren't going to charge her for this. And she said, oh yeah, no, you can charge the school anyways. And so the incompetence was not admitted. It's just money laundering. And it was so sad. It was so sad. I would have preferred going in the first boat because the second boat was a jerk from here that she knew. And he was a jerk, that guy. And I'm with my cat, who's just doesn't know what's happening, thinks he's being punished when he's working really hard to set a new territory in Kitkatla after being attacked more than once by other animals. And then, he doesn't understand what's happening. I'm nice with everybody as usual, and he's getting comfort with me, and he's panicking on the boat. And they don't care. Deb and this jerk guy with the boat, they're not trying to make the ride softer. They're not checking with me and the cat, see how he's doing. They're just having their gossipy capitalist conversation. It was so pathetically sad, and I could see the trauma build in my cat, and it was pretty upsetting. I know I can survive this because that's the state of the human condition, and it was predictable. And what I do is I create as much documentation, emails and videos as possible. So this is who I was, and you lost me. And you lost me not because I'm a colonizer or whatever. It's because you don't want help. You don't want help for your own people. You don't want to do the work. You don't want to show up. There's even one student who had potential, but he kind of wanted to do the program without doing the academic part. And supposedly he's the son of the chief, so maybe they were going to try and, I don't know. There was a lot of things they weren't answering, and I'm talking about both the indigenous community elites, but also Coast Mountain College. I did find out later when Deb blurted out it was $300,000 for this program, which was, I don't know where the money went, but I tell you, if it comes to getting supplies for students that I never got, and also paying me, because she said, Deb, at some point, she was telling me, oh no, you should do your scheduled hours even if there's no students there. And but the college doesn't pay me for that, and she doesn't want to pay me for that. It's just a scam. I don't know where the money was going. And there'd have to be an audit where all this paperwork, where there's probably these falsehoods from these elites that move this money around, and it has nothing to do with serving their communities or the learners. And again, this is not me discovering one exception. This is pretty much the norm. That's why I have to say that, the Ministry of Education of BC, and I'm not saying it's the only Ministry of Education in the world or in Canada that is responsible for these types of crimes and human rights violations, by just, like, the more I hear politicians right now saying, we're going to fund this and this. Well, first of all, I've seen many things get funded, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work because you don't hire the right people to make it work, and you don't advertise it in the right way and support the students in the right way, or whoever it is. It's just falsehoods where money keeps moving from elites, and you can't just hate politicians because they can't, like, say, okay, we'll fund something $300,000 and we'll put in 250,000 for oversight, and the rest will be the 50 going in the program. But really, that's what they should do, because there's so much investigation that would need to happen, so much corruption, and in big part Indigenous First Nations communities. They often say we're not getting enough, but if you look at how, and it's not just them, it's colonizer or white people who also take advantage of this, because for them, just like Indigenous people, money makes the world go round. It has nothing to do with community or cultural repair or being a lifelong learner and how to role model that. It's pretty sad. And I tell you, if it wasn't for my cat in my life, who is a sane land mammal compared to the species I share DNA with, I tell you, I had to wish more and more that I had a diagnosis of advanced cancer, and I can't seem to get that diagnosis unless it's real, And but it's sad, but it's true. Living among you is very, very dehumanizing as a species. Everybody, all of you. Okay, so did I say this part? My cat jumped out of the motorhome after the additional trauma of another ferry ride and of another abandoned home territory. Yeah, I did say that part. Lost late last week, because cats want to stick to one territory. But he was so brave. He kept trying. It was so amazing what he did. It's almost like he's getting punished for being a courageous little fella. That's what he must have thought, right? I have not seen him since Saturday, which was, I think, the June 29th. I see the majority of you as our oppressors, and I now struggle to show you the respect that you have been unable to show me and my cat, because if we relocate for you, and we've already had these types of experiences with colleges in BC or other parts of Canada or Indigenous communities, then please don't do this to us. And yet they can't stop. They can't stop from devolving themselves and taking down potential culture peers and helpers with them, and spreading this trauma that nobody wants to work on. I have discovered more and more data about money laundering, nepotism, and collective agreement violations among your college elite communities each day that passes. There's so much evidence to compile, which will show how the college and the Indigenous nations elites have sabotaged their own projects meant to benefit the communities that they serve, as they have used me as a guinea pig for. Money does not make the world go round. Community does. And I heard later on from a student, and there was one lady I really liked at a store that I like to go to. She was so pleasant, and I saw her one time, and I gave her a peace sign, and she kind of saw me walk by, and she was curious, and she would have liked to not be talking to somebody else and probably catch up with me. She was one of the nice ones there. But the thing is I heard they sent another, I heard that from a student, they sent another instructor there after. And that student of mine, the most dedicated one, never even heard there was a new, they didn't advertise it. They just wanted to put somebody there to sit and do nothing to launder this money around. And I'm not even sure if the part of the program that was the arts was given the way it was supposed to. I mean, you'd have to investigate. But to investigate, you'd be asking questions to people that are afraid to answer them because they're afraid of their own elites over there, right? that have so much more than them while they struggle, the others, right? So there's so much. That's what I've been saying in the last 10 years. The data I've accumulated is that Indigenous or First Nations communities are their own oppressors more than non-Indigenous people, and it's measurable. So it's sad. It's sad. So money's moving around to help these communities, but it's really going into, and it's not going to be different, with mining or fossil fuel projects. It's going to be even worse. The days of hugs from me and of professional courtesy have now passed. Aside from union complaints, I will also need time to gather data for the RCMP, Jordan's principal complaint, and for the Human Rights Tribunal as well. I think I looked at the definitions of Jordan's principal complaint, and there's no way to make a complaint that Indigenous communities were blocking services to their own members. So that's why it's one of the reasons you got to do the human rights complaint and advocate for these Indigenous members that don't do it, right? That don't know how or are afraid to advocate for themselves. And again, if the Human Rights Tribunal says, Martin, you can't do that, well, I'm sorry, but who's supposed to do it? You're supposed to hear these complaints, and you can actually collect the data or ask somebody else to do it, or you can go talk to the people. Stop kind of putting barriers in what you claim you're an expert on or you have a passion to do. And for the Human Rights Tribunal as well. Right now, it is hard for me to go 30 minutes without running to the bathroom, which I hope will be available at the time. To help you all reference the outside world away from self-serving egocentrism, abilities that none of you have managed to demonstrate thus far, I include a video of my cat and myself. Here are my hours, but I prefer returning the fob and ID card, which you can make obsolete at any time after you have sent me my final 2 pay stubs and also my employment history record. So it's possible my reputation is really hurt in ways that I don't even know. When they send another instructor there, they have to justify that in their paperwork of the money laundering, and they make it seem like I failed, like I didn't do what was right for the students, when it's the other way around. And that's what the data really shows, especially when I said, here's the homework of my student, and she chose this topic. Like, she had options we discussed, and she chose this. She wrote what it was like to be ready to invest in this, but none of the adults in charge were. Of course, she was excluding me. She was happy with my services. I would also appreciate it if someone could forward to my Gmail all emails which I have sent from my college account. Only the ones sent should be enough, as the evidence that I also require from that source. And of course, they didn't do it. June 18th, 1 hour wasted for Colin Elliott's requested phone call. Recording available upon request. I recorded how ridiculous he was. I think he was like in a car with somebody and pulled over because he kind of forgot, or he was late, or had too much on his plate. And even if he didn't, he's incompetent without having too much on his plate. Imagine when he's pulling over on the side of the road and there's somebody else in the car, he pretends he's not there after he tells me they're there. June 20th, 1 hour meeting where Deb, Colin, and Jane obviously showed signs of not wanting to be there. This is me being firm. You 3 show up, and we're inviting students. And prove to me you put it out there that you were inviting students in whatever way, on the walkie-talkie or whatever other forums, Facebook you use. And really, as opposed to student H, who did show a mature commitment to this program, because I had everybody go up, and I really couldn't get some of them to actually get up. I had to kept asking, and then they gave me a percentage. They're maybe 85% committed, while me and the student were way up there, and our behavior role modeled it, and they said 85, but they didn't have 85. They were all nice at the beginning and friendly with me, and when suddenly they fear, I expect things to happen for the students. Like I said during the job interview, I'm learner-centered. Oh, we all are. No, you'll see. It won't take long. that there'll be a conflict where that is challenged. And for me, the answer is easy, and it won't be for you. And, it's always the same. So, June 24th, 3 hours with student H, 1 hour cleaning, 1 hour for union business, and of course they didn't pay me for these things, but I had to clean a room because other people using it were messing it up. And 2.25 hours. Now, some people there got paid, but they don't do it. I had to do it, and I didn't get paid. 2.25 hours of academic prep time and of learning by myself what people need to know when relocating there. So that, I was giving examples of learning how to get my groceries there, or learning, about the medical services or things like that, or the walkie-talkie, or this is who you talk to, or whatever it is, the paperwork. This is how you hand in your criminal record check application. Except I don't think they ever sent it in. I don't think they ever cared to make that effort. I sent them an old one, and I don't think they even sent in the application for the new one, not according to the RCMP when I asked them once. June 25th, 6 hours with student H. June 27th, 1 hour with Kelly, Colin, and Seth, who could not even show up as themselves. Somebody else did. Example, etc. Many future hours investigating these issues, your incongruences, as well as time for the union and others' grievances that I will be filing. Do not forget my time spent on my ongoing advocacy for Indigenous communities, such as the vulnerable innocents in Kitkatla. And I don't think they make efforts to not have people bring drugs there. I've seen like a truck with some guys, and I don't know how they get their truck there. I think it's normal because they want to blame people. They want to keep them addicted and criticize them, because it's not that hard to do stuff. You just hand in a little bit of information to the RCMP, and the next time they go, they can get those guys that bring the drugs there pretty easily. But you got to care about your own people. So this is capital letters. What part of my resume did your questionable reading comprehension and a lack of care and concern for others did you not understand? I don't sell an image of myself. I really am the elusive Homo sapien. Thank you very kindly, Ms. Marty. So this is a pretty intense, but this is after, my cat left, and they all kind of made the wrong choices. And if they had some type of learner-centered or community member-centered approach to things, they would have kept me, and they would have kept me by doing compromises from their norm. And the compromises weren't huge. It was just kind of act like a college, or kind of act like you're the director of education a little bit more, and don't just have an attitude, but actually act like somebody like that would. And they couldn't do that. They couldn't deviate from the norm. So it's pretty pathetically sad. And tomorrow I'm starting the REUNITED series of when, after more than 4 months, my cat was found. And then it was a bit of annoying also problems getting him to me. And I'm not even sure that I'll keep him with me, because this place where I am now, where I moved in, I did say in the interview, I said, I have a cat, but he's lost. And I said, and they didn't seem happy, although that guy's dog kind of smelled all the food during the Thanksgiving common room party thing. So it's kind of hard to kind of take people seriously. They contradict themselves all the time. But he's my therapy animal. He wasn't trained. He's not registered. He's just a sane land mammal that now has, like me, a sane land mammal, more traumas living among both indigenous and non-indigenous people primates that I share DNA with.